Hi, I'm Orbit Dean, and this is my podcast, Discovering Beauty with Orbit Dean. I am a filmmaker and a writer living in Los Angeles, and I also have cerebral palsy, and I'm a wheelchair user. You can continue the conversation after the podcast with us on my Orbit Dean Substack.
Everywhere, everywhere. You are special and I love you everywhere. You are special everywhere. You know it's true.
Michael Orbit Dean here once again, live in my lovely Los Angeles bedroom as I recover from an injury. Happy to have you for another episode of Discovering Beauty with Orbit Dean. I am the aforementioned Orbit Dean. Thanks for coming today. Today, I want to talk about the number one thing, the number one topic of conversation that comes up whenever I talk to anyone about disability issues. And that is dating and romance and sex with a disability. Everybody wants to talk about that. Some people are embarrassed by it. Some people are repulsed by the idea, frankly, that, people with disabilities can have a love life. Um, but also, it's a real thing. I mean, with things like love on the spectrum now, I think we're being more accepting of that people with differences and different abilities can also be people who need love and romance and all things in life that everybody needs, you know. But clearly, when I talk to people, that's is the number one topic the number one thing that they want to know is about dating and romance and sex. They want to know, can I have it? Have I had it? With who have I had it? Uh, people want to know details. It's interesting. It's really interesting growing up being a person with cerebral palsy because and trying to have a romantic life because for a lot of people it was a novelty. Like, oh, I want to see what it's like to be with the guy with cerebral palsy. Can he do it? Can he physically do it? Does everything work the way it should work? So you see, you come off feeling like a little bit of like a human science experiment, or like, oh, I wonder what it would be like to be with this guy. And it's or it's there's pity involved. Like, oh, he probably hasn't been with any. I'm gonna do something nice for him. And we've all had that experience of being like, you know, you're not my boyfriend because my boyfriend is the quarterback or the genius or the the captain of industry. You're just like a temporary thing. This is charity. I can't tell you how much pretty sex or charity sex that I've had in my life. But the other thing, I also think that people are amazed that I've had as extensive as a romantic life as I've been lucky enough to have. I've been lucky enough to have great relationships with great people, and very very intimate relationships. And I think a lot of people are interested in that whenever I talk about my experience as a disabled person, because frankly, not a lot of people know that we can do that. You know. Um, but I did want to talk about my very first experience dating, and that was in sixth grade. Um, I entered into a mainstream school situation from a school for the disabled, so I was already a novelty, and I was deeply in love. I fell head over heels, deeply in love with this girl who was uh, strikingly beautiful, and I don't know what we're gonna call her. We'll call her Trisha for the purposes of this podcast. So Trisha was strikingly gorgeous, and she was a cheerleader at my school, and she was just everybody's dream girl. And I was head over heels in love with her, and more importantly, she liked me. I mean, we were very close friends, and I got up the nerve to ask her on a date. I had never been on an actual date before, and I remember that I got that we she said yes after a lot of negotiation. International levels of negotiation went on about this date that was going to happen with Michael, this disabled kid, and where we were going to go. Who was going? I mean, it was like that for everybody of that age, but it was also like a huge. It was a landmark event because I was involved, and I remember that had to speak to her dad and her mom, and then her mom had to speak to my mom, and it was a whole thing that it was back then. But it was extra. It was extra. And I remember that my mom was going to drive us to the movies, and I just remember being so in love with Trisha that I couldn't I didn't know what to do with myself. I was I couldn't even think straight. So my mom was going to drive us to the movies. My mom and I drove up to Trisha's house to pick her up for the movies, and I was bound and determined that I was going to meet her at her front door. So I got out of the car, and I was on, lost strand Canadian crutches at the time, and I climbed up the steps to her front door, and knocked on the door or rang the bell or whatever, and was my mom behind me, and she came to the door, and everybody in the neighborhood was in her house at that time. Everybody had come out to be part of this event. Everybody wanted to witness this. So I met about 25 people as Trisha came out of her door for this date. And I, met her dad, her mom, everybody in the neighborhood, all the friends, everybody's dog was there. Everybody was out. It was a huge event. There was like 25 people on her doorstep. And then I finally got to see Trisha herself, and she had dressed up for this film event that we were going to have because we were close enough friends that we would discuss like where are we going to go, what are we going to wear. So I knew that this was going to be something special, and she just looked strikingly beautiful. It was a movie moment. It was a moment out of a John Hughes film, and there was music playing as she came to the door, music playing in my head, and the 25 people that were in the house parted, and I got a glimpse of her and her in this beautiful white dress that she was wearing with pearls. She had pearls on, I remember. It was just this remarkable. She looked remarkably striking and beautiful for uh, that one that in that moment of my life. It was a movie moment, and I was so taken with this that I had a major muscle spasm on our porch. And I don't think I've discussed muscle spasms yet as a person with cerebral palsy. So I'm going to do that now to say that when you are a person with cerebral palsy and you have strong emotions, sometimes your muscles react with your emotions. So that if you're excited or scared or upset, all your muscles will start to react and contract, and and your whole body, it feels like losing control of your body. So I took one look at Trisha in this outfit that she was wearing for this date, and she was glowing. There was like a light, an angelic light around her, and there was music playing. And I took one look at her and had a major muscle spasm throughout my entire body, lost control of myself, fell over off of my crutches and fell into the bushes. And it was so embarrassing for everybody involved because I was there now in the bushes in front of the entire neighborhood. her entire family, her mom, her dad, her dog, everybody was concerned. And I was so mortally embarrassed that I just went home. And it was everybody decided, including Trisha and myself, that this date should probably not happen because I couldn't even get myself off the porch. And everybody was so concerned about me, and I was so mortified with embarrassment that I just went home. And we stayed in touch after this, but I don't think it was ever the same. And that was my introduction to dating world. So I just wanted to share that with you. And I hope you have a lot of sympathy for me on that one. But I want to hear about your dating experiences. And I would like to commiserate on this and be embarrassed and cry along with you all. So anyway, thanks for being here and sharing my embarrassment with me. I'll see you next time.
Everywhere, everywhere. You are special and I love